Hello everyone, welcome once again to Arrow Discussions. I am Captain Logan.
Terrible. I'm Steve. Yeah. Steve Baxi.
And today we're going to talk about the 12th episode of Season 3, which is Uprising. This came out, of course, last, Wednesday, I guess. This show airs on Wednesday. And
Wednesday, February the 4th.
It's been a few days since I've seen this, so and we just did a bunch of other discussion shows, so I'm going to try to refresh myself about what happened in this. If you've not been watching the main crisis video, Steve's been having a crisis himself about how bad he thinks this episode is, and we can't get through one video without him wanting to jump to Arrow and talk about how much he didn't like it this week. So, if you really, really like this season of Arrow and you really like this episode, you think we've been too hard on it, you're either going to really enjoy Steve saying a bunch of stuff you don't agree with, or you're going to cry yourself to sleep. But anyway, so you may not want to watch. You may just have to turn it off now. Everybody else that has felt a little bit like we have might feel a little bit more vindicated after they hear what Steve has to say. I'm excited to see what Steve has to say. So let's just get straight into it. Steve, what do you have to say?
Oh boy, this is so bad. I have no idea to begin. Okay, if I was doing this on my channel and YouTube wasn't a Nazi for copyrights, I would have the clip playing from the second to last, or I believe it was maybe the last episode of Season 1, where Tommy walks into Malcolm's office and Malcolm reveals that he's going to basically destroy the Glades.
Yeah.
And I say this because there's a very particular line in that scene, and it's also one of the best episodes of the series. Malcolm says that this city is beyond saving. They deserve to die the way she died. He makes it explicit that this is not for any cause whatsoever, aside from the fact that he is very vengeful and he thinks everyone in the city has failed him personally. Yeah. It's revenge. He makes no bones about it. Now, in this episode, we've got Thea saying, and I couldn't get through her dialogue. I kept interrupting her, telling her that she's wrong, because she says, well, I don't care that he killed 502 people because he was there for me when I needed him. What? I can't believe that she thinks she's a good person for that. There's no way to sympathize with her anymore, and there was no way to sympathize with Laurel 2 episodes ago. So that's 2 characters that are gone. The moment Roy agreed with her, he's no longer sympathetic either. Yeah. Because he's justifying mass murder.
Yeah, and so the show is almost behind her, and I've been really suspicious about that all season, because the show keeps just playing her like another normal character, not someone that's been manipulated into turning kind of crazy and evil and being really corrupted. You could get her to a corrupted place like Malcolm's been corrupting her. I don't know that the show even thinks that's what it's been doing. Like I think it's trying to play it like Malcolm's got a point or something.
Yeah, they keep playing this episode as if Malcolm is not evil Batman. Malcolm is misunderstood Punisher. They act like this guy had a cause. He was doing what Arrow was doing. He just went about it in a different way. We can't attack him for that. Except that this guy deliberately killed 503 people because he didn't like them. For no justification. He admits to himself that I did this for revenge, and people are sympathizing with him, and that makes no sense. Felicity's the most likable character in this episode because she's understanding how absolutely ludicrous it is to even talk about working with him.
And then, and we'll talk about this later, but I just gotta tack this on real fast, and then Oliver shows up at the end, and I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, let's talk about how stupid this is for a second. So Malcolm's plan is Ra's al Ghul is going to kill me, so I'm going to manipulate Oliver into dueling Ra's and clearing both of us. Now, we talked about how contrived and terrible that plan is in The Climb, so now let's just talk about this. Malcolm is a student of Ra's al Ghul. The big quote thrown out in this episode is that only the student has hope of defeating the master. Malcolm's the student. Yeah! There's no reason Malcolm couldn't have just killed him. And if you're saying Malcolm can train Oliver, then Malcolm should have killed him in the first place.
And at the very least, Oliver should be saying, okay, why don't you do it? Or here's an idea, because there's no talk about how it's gotta be done in some sort of like traditional bout or something like it was when they were on the precipice, right? Why can't Oliver and Malcolm just team up, train together, and then go kill him as a team? Like, if Oliver's going to work with him, and I'm with Felicity, where she's like, no, you can't trust him, and like, that whole scene where he is being cordial I think that's word's not too strong. When he's being cordial to Malcolm in his apartment, just standing there with him, and I couldn't even believe that. Like, what is going on? Okay, I said we talk about it later. I guess we're talking about it right now.
Who do they think he is? What?
I don't know.
I don't understand when Malcolm went from being this evil, manipulative mastermind, or not even a mastermind, from being this evil, vengeful, spiteful person that created the foundation for what Oliver was fighting against, to now being some kind of sympathetic character. Because he's not. He's not sympathetic in the least.
Here's what's really baffling to me is that I don't know that he's inconsistent. It almost seems like it's just the way everybody else is talking about him, because he because he has that scene where he tells Thea that he's not a good person. Right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like I'm just saying,
else is just reading him wrong.
Isn't that weird? It's like everybody's reading him wrong, and I don't know that he's really ever changed all that much.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, part of the problem with Malcolm, again, has been that, like, his whole plan doesn't make sense, but that's completely different than other people thinking that they can work with him, or thinking that he had a point in the first place. That whole thing with Oliver deciding to train with him, or working with him just until they can beat Roz, that doesn't make any sense. Not just because Malcolm could have killed him in the first place, not simply because Oliver's principles don't line up with this guy, but because there were all of these unsung questions and all of this weird continuity where I don't know who knows what at this point.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Does Thea know that Roy is Red Arrow? We know Captain Lance does. How does Lance not know Oliver is Green Arrow? How does his sister not know Green Arrow?
I had that
Especially when they come back on the same day. Like, I don't know where anyone is standing, and I'm expected to just go with it, like they're doing this weird Karate Kid prophecy kind of thing of, well, I'll give you some kind of magical quote, and this will be your guiding light. It doesn't make any sense on even that level.
You know how at the beginning of the season I said that we are this season plotting scene to scene? It's still that way. That's never changed. And we were talking about Flash earlier this evening. We were doing that show, and this is even worse in that whole coin flip thing I was talking about, where we just say, okay, we've decided now that this character gets to know this thing, and then we'll pretend like there's a logic to it, and like that character came to it through, ingenuity and perceptiveness and stuff. Lance is both smart and stupid in the same scene, because when he sees Roy, he's like, well, I've seen you shooting arrows. You can't just put on a mask and a voice synthesizer and me not know that you're Red Arrow. And then I say, you know that Felicity used to work with Oliver during the time when she was like during a time when he was still around and being Green Arrow. How do you not know that and that's just one example of a reason that Lance should know that Oliver is Arrow. And yeah, you can say that maybe he knows and he's pretending not to, but I don't buy that. I don't think that is the case at all. And when they finally make it a giant reveal, you know what's going to happen? I would not put it past this season right now, and I know we're being really harsh on this, but it's not working. I'm sorry. It's all falling apart. There are things I like about this episode, and I will mention them briefly because that's how long it will take. And I don't think I disliked it as much as Steve until Steve started talking, and then it all came rushing back to me because I've been thinking about other shows, and now I'm like, oh yeah, let's get into this. So I would not put it past this season, Steve, for us to get to the end of the season, and it is not finding out that Sarah is dead that is the thing that gives Lance the heart attack, but finding out that Oliver Queen is Arrow. That's where it's going.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
That's probably...
But I may not be kidding. I would not put it past this. I think they could go there, and I think they will play it really dramatic, and they will want us to have tears welling up in our eyes, and I can't take it seriously right now, man.
No. I mean, there's nothing to it, I mean, I feel like, and one of my rewrites for the season is now copy Andy Diggle's Daredevil. And Andy Diggle's Daredevil is terrible, but it's nowhere near as bad as this, almost to the point where Andy Diggle could improve this story.
It's not terrible.
By just having Oliver, like, kill Roz and take over the League.
Oh, yeah, that would be pretty cool. Well, that's the thing, is that not only are they doing a lot of things that just have characters people not acting like people, and characters not acting like who we used to be told they were, and acting completely contrary to what I thought their worldviews were, but also they're not being very creative in a lot of cases as well. So really, you're gonna have like a month-long you're gonna have a cliffhanger. Make us wait a month to find out how Oliver gets back from the dead, and then it's just gonna be, he got lucky that he got picked up right after he fell off of a thing that you know what, I'm doing a lot of reading from. Somebody sent me a forum where some people were talking about Oliver's just miraculous coming back from the dead thing, and everybody that I'm reading is in agreement that no one could survive that. And
they made it really clear that he was dead.
Yeah, they made it really clear, and you can say comic book logic, you can say its own internal logic. It's not consistent. They want this to be a somewhat more grounded thing where, yes, there are things that you can do in this universe that you can't do in the real world, and I'm not talking about superpowers, there is some comic book physics, but in the universe that we're given here, nobody should be able to survive that. And
no.
So it had to have been Lazarus Pit or something, and I cannot believe the whole thing with Stephen Amell saying, oh, it's not Lazarus Pit, as if it's some other cleverer thing. Right?
I mean, I would still be satisfied if they just said Soul Taker Sword, but they didn't even say that. They said that he was barely alive and they nursed him back to health.
I'm not buying it.
That's ludicrous. That's
and here's the thing.
Beyond ludicrous. We're talking about a universe where Roy Harper can break Arrow's leg and he spends an entire episode limping.
Yeah.
We're talking about an episode, an episode where Laurel can't go without being treated to a cut because it will scar. There's obviously some kind of actual medical, at least pseudo-logic going on.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that he can be stabbed through the chest, the side, and fall off a cliff and survive?
And I want to I want to elaborate a little bit and or just reinforce this point. I'm not complaining just because it's not realistic or even believable. I mean, I care about believable in a fiction over realistic. The bigger problem, I think, is that it's just not like a satisfying conclusion to that, right? Like,
yeah,
like it's just even if you could be made to buy it somehow. Okay, then what about that? Who cares? And it's like I said last episode, and I know we're rehashing things a little bit here, but it's even more infuriating because he's already back in costume. Why? I mean, like I said, you know, last episode. So like we bring him back, and now I can just kind of assume that he'll be able to survive anything. I mean, like you take all of the danger and the tension out of really anything that ever happens to him now after this, until you regain my trust, and I realize that we've got writers again that have decided that consequences really do happen to our protagonist. Oh boy, that's super rough.
We're to this point where if they decapitate him, I'm sure they can find a way to bring him back.
Yeah, they'll just say that his head was still
nothing is too ludicrous. There's rumors going around that John Diggle John Diggle is actually Jon Stewart. I wouldn't put it past the show to say that he's actually Jon Stewart and we were calling him by the wrong name the entire series, and that's all your setup is. That's consistent with how badly written this whole season's been.
Yeah. Dying of Laurel Lands. So I want to go through some notes if you don't mind, Steve. First of all, let me throw out some stuff that I like. I like that. I like the thing you said about Felicity. I was all on board right in the middle when they finally came together and decided, no, we're not going to work with Merlin. That's a horrible idea. I even kind of like how that was kind of done off screen, where there was an argument, and then finally you see Diggle bringing the message, and I don't know what Diggle's gonna say, and then when Diggle says we've decided to refuse to work with you, for a minute I wasn't sure if he was like on his own or if that's actually what the consensus of the group was. I kind of liked that there for a minute, but then it was all kind of deflated by Oliver at the end, spewing nonsense for easy drama, really. But
yeah, I like that scene.
I like that.
The only thing that deflates it for me is that there shouldn't have been an argument in the first place.
Why?
Because there's no reason to defend Malcolm whatsoever. The whole argument
I get that.
is Roy being crazy.
Yeah, but at that point, I don't know. I thought, yeah. Okay, you're right. No. The argument about Malcolm is not really a bad guy. You're right. That's problematic. The idea of maybe we need his help. That's okay. Like, we can argue about that.
Okay, yeah, I can buy that.
I mean,
okay.
Because that's not the only argument there, and the main argument there. I mean, I just think you're putting a little bit too much weight on that over the argument of, well, he's Brick is taking over the city, and we need help, and maybe we have to have an uneasy alliance. Frankly, I would have liked the uneasy alliance to play out. I mean, I am saying that I don't want to contradict myself. I am saying that I like that they refused to work with him. At the same time, if they had felt like, okay, we have to, but then after that, I mean, like, we've seen these kinds of uneasy alliances before, and these are people that have in the past done the wrong thing to do the right thing. I mean, like, this is not Barry Allen we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I could be made to be okay with going either direction, and I like where they went for a minute, and then I think they deflated it at the end.
Yeah, and I mean, we got this in the comments last week. There is a sense of urgency with what Brick's doing, so I can buy up to a point that Malcolm's their only hope. I just can't buy that anyone would think of him as anything except a last resort.
Yeah, exactly. But you also have to give Malcolm a good enough reason to care about stopping Brick, and they tried that by forcing in this whole Brick's actually the person that killed his wife thing, which feels very retroactive, very flimsy, and came out of nowhere. I liked the Brick stuff because it was directly related to Arrow, only in that he's found a way to ruin everything Arrow has accomplished, and that Oliver allegedly being dead, his life would mean nothing because the city would be, because everything he accomplished goes to rot because of Brick. That's all we needed in connecting him to any of our characters. The way that didn't work. I don't think that worked. You get to the end, and I'm just going to read my notes here. Why would killing Brick back in the flashbacks with Merlin, if Merlin had actually killed Brick and not the person that he killed thinking that was the person that killed his wife, why would that have made any difference in the path that he took? Because he has this line where he's like, if I had actually killed Brick in the first place, it might have changed everything. Why? I don't understand that.
It would have changed nothing.
It still
he
wouldn't
was
have
under the impression he did it in the first place.
Yeah, it still wouldn't have made Merlin feel any better. He'd still go on his crusade to fix the city, I would assume. I don't think it matters who it is. And he also says that he that killing that guy didn't make him feel any better. So is he implying that if he'd killed the real person, that somehow fate would have allowed him to feel better? I don't understand.
Yeah, it's the Spider-Man 3 thing of, it doesn't matter that he didn't kill Sandman. The fact is he thought he did.
Yeah,
and that doesn't change anything. There's a character arc there that had to be dealt with.
Yeah. Part
of the thing with Brick being the real killer is it again deflates season 1, which now I'm thinking is the only good season of the show that's consistent.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that it hurts that so much is it's not a Joe Chill thing. It's not. It could be anyone, or it could be Joe Chill, and it works either way. The problem is season 1 was all about the actions of one reflect on the actions of everyone. It doesn't matter who killed Malcolm's wife, because the city created a place where someone could do that, and so the city itself, the collective, failed a person.
Yeah.
And then a person has to rise up and fix that. It's about individuals fixing an institution. The moment you put a label on it, the moment you make it a definitive character, it deflates that whole idea of we have to perpetuate behavior in a city as opposed to get revenge on a singular person. it really undermines that whole arc. It really destroys what Malcolm and Oliver were saying in the first place, was that first season of we hurt individuals because it's what they do to the culture. And Brick doesn't do anything to the culture. Brick being the killer doesn't add anything to it. It detracts because having a face to it destroys that whole case.
The only way it would work at all, I think, is if Brick was already this big giant mob boss guy. And that, but he wasn't at that point. But I mean, like that might have helped a little bit, where like he's a personification of what's wrong with the city, not just
or if Brick
a random
did more
person.
than just kill his wife. Like if Brick was part of, like, I mean, this would be retroactive again, but if Brick was someone that, I don't know, robbed Thea or killed someone in Diggle's family, or he had a connection to more than just Malcolm to show that he is a bigger thing, that he in himself is an institution.
Yeah. I want to go through a couple more notes, if you don't mind, real quick, Steve.
Yeah, sure.
How is Felicity not suspicious that Merlin has a link into the Arrow Cave when he just shows up? They're not questioning at all how the heck Malcolm knows that Brick killed his wife. He shows up at the moment that just after Felicity has discovered this on her own. And then Malcolm shows up and he's like, yep, I know that Brick is the one that killed my wife, even though I didn't know that for like years and years and years. And that sound means we're all out of time, but we'll mention a couple more things here real quick. But yeah, so Brick, so Malcolm just conveniently shows up and knows this, and Felicity does not put two and two together.
He knows the camera in there. And isn't it really convenient that he's tuning in just when they say that?
Also, does that laptop or does that monitor have to be on in order for him to see what because we see it from like the monitor's perspectives? I just wonder how that camera works. So Roy is really gullible.
Yes.
You were talking about that earlier. The line is, he cares about this. So you're talking about Malcolm. He cares about the city. He saved Thea for no ulterior motive. No ulterior motive? How can you be sure of that?
The whole thing where he used Thea to kill Sarah?
So saving his own daughter means he cares about the city somehow.
I really just want to go to Roy and play this clip with Malcolm where he says they deserve to die. They can't be saved.
Yeah, but more than that, let's just stay into this season for a minute. You remember how earlier you said that you're not sure who knows what about whom right now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm very lost about whether or not Roy is aware that Thea was brainwashed to kill Sarah. Is Roy in the loop on this, or are we keeping it away from him? Because, if he knows that, Malcolm clearly did have an ulterior motive. It was so that he could use his daughter to kill Sarah to set up Oliver to try to kill Roz, even though he is, I gotta finish this, even though he is clearly more equipped to kill Roz himself, and we're proving it by having him be the one that trains Oliver to now go ahead and do that. What is going on? What is this show now?
It's a cartoon now.
It has become a parody of itself, and I hate going that far, but I think it has. Good Lord. Let's see here.
I can't take anyone seriously when they tell me the season's good, because what are they watching? Explain it to me, please. What is it about the season that has any fan base?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's performances. Maybe it's still fun to see these guys in costume. But I can't take it seriously right now. Wow.
How far are they fallen?
I like that Malcolm in the flashbacks is still has a very Batman Begins parallel background, and he's still kind of evil Batman. I know you said that he's not quite that now, but I still maintain that they're not inconsistent with him. They're just inconsistent with how everybody's reacting to him. He did have an ulterior motive. Anyway.
I mean, John Barrowman's just a good actor too, so he's still fun to watch despite what they give him to do.
Wow, this is a lot worse than I realized watching it. The more I'm looking at it, and this is not just Steve swaying me.
Episode, but that whole Sarah Lance voice mimic thing is still up there.
Yeah, that's rough. So Lance is now on track to find out that Sarah's still alive. It better happen next episode. I'm like, they're dragging that out, and like last year, Eric and I were praising the show really hard in the first half of the season for doing stuff way before we ever expected it to subvert our expectations, to not string us along. And I think it decided that it was moving too fast and it didn't have enough of a story to tell. So this season it must start stretching us along more than it ever has. My goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness. Okay, so do you have any good quotes?
I like Lance's line a lot when he's talking to Roy, and Roy's got the voice changer, and Lance says, "Look, I've seen you wearing a red hoodie. I've seen you shooting arrows at people. You think I don't recognize you with a little extra leather and lace?"
Yeah, but it still makes me go, well, you should know that Oliver...
Yeah, exactly. It's still a giant problem, but it's a nicely written line, if nothing else.
So Diggle has this, what I think is a really cool line that, once again, is deflated by the ending, and it almost feels like two different people wrote this episode. How do we get this great line from Diggle, and then at the end, Oliver thinks that he can somehow justify still working with Malcolm? I guess just under the logic of anything Malcolm says must be the truth. Still. Like, well, Malcolm said that we couldn't put him behind bars, so we're not going to try that. Malcolm says that I don't remember whose idea it was, but Malcolm thinks that that training me is the only way to defeat Rod. So I'm not even going to suggest that he go off and do it. I guess that's what's got to happen.
The superhero parody of Malcolm in the Middle.
Diggle says... I love everything about that. Diggle said that. Oh boy, I just love. Oh man, you're not the boss of me now, and you're not. So Diggle. Little known fact, that's a They Might Be Giant song. Diggle says, I don't know if we made the right choice, but I know we did the right thing. Apparently, Oliver no longer capable of discerning the difference between those two things. But I like that line a lot. I mean, it's a cool line. It's a first season Diggle line. And
yeah, Diggle being the voice of reason.
Yeah.
That was a part of that character that made him really interesting. That was the fact that the bodyguard is the one that's giving the moral wisdom, and we lose a lot of that. But every now and then we do get those lines that do kind of work. I think it was this season when we had that episode where they go over to Diggle's house for dinner.
Yeah, that was the Thanksgiving thing, yeah.
Yeah, the Cupid episode I like more than you do. But I mean, there's moments in the season where Diggle is Diggle, and then we have moments where he's bragging about Oliver killing people.
Well, real quick, let's go ahead and finish up. We're out of time. Steve, do you have a trivia question? I did not come up with anything for this one from the episode. I should have gone back and grabbed something, and I just didn't. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, mine is a question about Oliver dying, because that's what he would have done in this show had the writers known anything about writing. The question is, and this is from an actual writer, in what issue of Chuck Dixon's... That's a good writer, by the way. In what issue of Chuck Dixon's run on Green Arrow was Oliver Queen killed?
Okay, well, go ahead and just give us the answer, because we've got to kick out here.
The answer is 101.
101 Dalmatians.
101 Oliver Queen deaths.
Well, everybody that's watching this as a separate video, thanks for being here. We sure appreciate it. I hope we didn't hurt your feelings too much, but it's just the way we feel about it. And leave your comments. We're looking forward to reading them. We will see you again next week. Odds that this show finds its footing again, Steve?
I'm hoping. I mean, I'm sorry for being so strongly opinionated about it.
Well,
it's just a matter of I really liked this show.
No return?
And then it really degenerated, and now I think it's possible to recover, but they clearly haven't set anything up for it.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, has it jumped the shark? Like, has it gone so far that these characters just aren't themselves anymore?
For Laurel and Thea, yes. For everyone else, there's a redemption story possible. For Laurel and Thea, I think some of what they've done is unforgivable at this point.
When you say redemption story, you're implying that the show would have to acknowledge that these characters have done anything wrong, and I don't know that it will.
That's true. If someone would eventually come on board and realize they've made mistakes in writing, you could fix this. But even if you were emotionally intelligent or intelligent enough to know you screwed up with Laurel and Thea, it still wouldn't save them.
The show's still a success. It's still getting good ratings. I don't see new blood coming on board.
That's true. And I mean, part of the good stuff about season 1 and 2 is that they did have a lot of good, different writers episode to episode.
Yeah.
So there was lots of creative input, and this season, not so much.
Well, they may have done that in an attempt to keep it from being as convoluted as it was last season, but the convoluted bit started really early this season.
Yeah, it did, and I mean, even when season two got bad on its second half, it was still enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
You know, there were still people, and they were still having fun. Now it's just a matter of, in order to have fun, you have to ignore what everyone is doing scene to scene.
Well, that was more of an issue of logic and not being able to keep up with the continuity, and me not buying that a character was responsible for all of the things you said he planned. This season, it's mostly just people acting really out of character and not acting like people at all. Well, we're being redundant now. Let's go ahead and end off. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We sure appreciate it. We'll see you again next week. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Steve Baxi.